What's up, you guys? It's Ron here with the latest news on your $2,000 fourth stimulus check update and recurring stimulus check update. White House officials have indicated that pieces of the legislation will have the votes to pass this week. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki tested positive for the virus on Sunday, becoming the highest-ranking White House official to publicly disclose that they have, in fact, contracted the virus. What does this mean for the upcoming stimulus package? Officials report the global supply chain disruption is causing shortages of crucial medications in the United States. We'll discuss all of these and more in today's video, so definitely stick around until the end. But first, I want to say welcome back to all my subscribers. I really appreciate you guys. Hope you guys are doing very well today. And for those who are brand new to the channel, my name is Ron. We cover all things personal finance, investing, cryptocurrencies, stock market updates, and of course, stimulus check updates and stimulus package updates. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, join the family, and tap that notification bell. That way you're notified as soon as I release new videos and content. The supply chain disruption is not only affecting online sales, grocery stores, and of course, the upcoming Christmas season, but it is also affecting critical drugs that many people need. And according to reports, there's no end in sight. It says here that the disruption in the nation's supply chain and all, the Food and Drug Administration, also known as the FDA, now lists more than 100 medications that are in short supply. The American Medical Association told CBS that the drug shortage is an urgent public health crisis that threatens patient care and safety. The American Society of Health System Pharmacists noted that 3 of the top 5 shortages of drugs used for chemotherapy and heart conditions, as well as antibiotics. One of the medications is tocilizumab, which is a drug used to treat both the pandemic as well as cancer. A University of Virginia pharmacy manager told CBS that the college's medical center has been faced with the prospect of deciding whether their limited supply of tocilizumab should be given to people with cancer or to people who are fighting the pandemic. So as you can see, this supply chain problem is affecting all branches of all industries. But when exactly is the supply chain crisis going to be ending?
Off the coast of Los Angeles, the reason you're paying more for everyday items and perhaps struggling to find some in the store, a vital parking lot in the Pacific. Container ships, mostly from Asia, stretching across the horizon. To get an up-close view, we rode along with LA Port Police Marine 12. It didn't take long, the radar suddenly filled with ships.
That's it right here. They're right outside the outer harbor.
76 ships waiting for up to 10 days each to enter the port of Los Angeles or nearby Long Beach.
Everywhere you look, there's a ship just sitting out here in the water.
And 500,000 containers. But this is just one component of the stretched global supply chain that runs from Asian manufacturers across the Pacific to American consumers, now backed up and bottlenecked. Gene Soroka runs the Port of Los Angeles, America's biggest.
How many ships a day now are coming in here?
In the last month and a half, we're averaging 18 ships a day.
That's nearly double the number that arrived daily before the pandemic. Making matters worse, there aren't enough truck drivers to take the goods from the docks to the nation's stores.
The American importer cannot digest all of this cargo into their domestic supply chains. 50% of all truckers licensed to do business at ports no longer come here.
Hired away by internet and big chain retailers. It's not just California. New York's ports are also backed up and leading to a shortage of everything, from electronics to toys to cars and car parts, building materials, clothing, and sending prices higher.
A lot of those holiday gifts you're hoping to give right now may be stuck sitting out here on the water. The question is whether they're going to be offloaded out of those massive containers onto the trucks, onto the rail lines, and to your local store in time for the holidays.
So the books not showing up in time or showing up one at a time would affect us greatly.
Ashley Kristoff owns Serendipity and Muse House Retreat gift shops in Studio City, now hoping her orders arrive in time for the holidays.
What we were being quoted was 4 to 6 weeks turnaround time, but some of the orders that I had placed earlier in the year I still have yet to see.
Her own supply chain now backed up into the Pacific.
Yeah, so the bottom line here, according to the experts, if you're thinking about holiday gifts, you should start probably ordering now. Don't wait till Thanksgiving. Don't wait until the run-up to Christmas and Hanukkah. Order now, because there may not be enough when it actually comes time for the holidays. They may be stuck right out there. Guys, back to you.
You know, Tom, that was a fascinating first-hand look there. Really quickly, how long do experts think this is going to go on?
Yeah, the director of the Port of Los Angeles thinks this is going to extend well into next year, maybe into the second or third quarter. And oh, by the way, this is a sign of how well the economy is doing, right? Consumer demand is exploding. But there aren't enough truck drivers. So, by the way, there are a lot of job openings right now for qualified truck drivers across the country to get stuff off the docks and to stores near you.
Tom Costello for us this morning off the coast of California. Tom, thank you.
Time to get that artificial Christmas tree. If that's what you like, it's time to buy it.
The answer to that is still unclear at this point. But drop me a comment down below if you guys are seeing any kind of shortages in your area, if you're seeing grocery store shortages, or maybe just shortages on certain items at different stores. Drop me a comment down below. I would love to hear from you guys. Next up, President Joe Biden has wrapped up his time at the Group of 20 summit on Sunday, trying to convince Americans and the wider world that he's got things under control, and taking Russia, China, and Saudi Arabia to task for not doing enough to deal with the existential threat of climate change. It says here, President Biden's overall take on his efforts on climate change, he's got $900 billion planned for renewable energy, and Congress will be voting this coming week. On supply chains, he has plans to make the ports run better and tamp down inflation. For workers, he's building an economy with pay raises, and on diplomacy, world leaders trust him.
But many are blasting G20 leaders for not doing enough. The president criticizing Russia, China, and Saudi Arabia for failing to attend the talks, saying an all-hands-on-deck effort is needed. Now all eyes on Glasgow as the president and more than 100 other world leaders attend the UN Climate Change Conference. The president heads there with his domestic climate proposals still stalled here at home, but he remains optimistic it'll get done. Our chief White House correspondent Cecilia Vega leads us off tonight from Rome with the president.
Tonight, as President Biden ends his trip in Rome and looks ahead to Glasgow for what's being called the most consequential climate conference ever, he and other leaders of the world's richest countries are under fire for not doing enough to stop global warming. The president on the defensive, calling it an all-hands-on-deck effort and blasting Russia and China, the world's biggest polluter, for failing to show up.
There's a reason why people should be disappointed. I think you're going to see we've made significant progress, and more has to be done. But it's going to require us to continue to focus on what China's not doing, what Russia's not doing.
His infrastructure plan directs $555 billion to fighting climate change, but it does not punish energy suppliers that fail to make the switch to clean energy, something experts say is needed in order to meet the president's goal of cutting greenhouse gas emissions in half by 2030.
Can you stand here today and say to the world that you definitively will still meet that goal?
Yes, I can. I don't think you're going to need any punitive action to get people to step up.
In a news conference on Sunday, President Biden spelled out his belief that all politics is personal and that what progress was achieved at the Rome summit came from direct interactions with other leaders. Quote, "They know me. I know them." This is what Biden said of his fellow G20 leaders. "We get things done together." Quote, "We've made significant progress and more has to be done," according to President Biden. "But it's going to require us to continue to focus on what Russia's not doing and what China's not doing and what Saudi Arabia's not doing. All I'm hearing right now is a significant amount of finger pointing here." As for the potential significance of Biden's thumbs up on congressional negotiations, White House Deputy Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said, quote, "As the president said during the press conference, he has confidence we're going to get this done, and the thumbs up was simply a visual restatement of that." Well, we will certainly see about that. In other news, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki has just tested positive and publicly admitted to having tested positive for the virus. It says here, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki tested positive for the virus on Sunday, becoming the highest-ranking White House official to publicly disclose that they have contracted the virus. Quote, "While I have not had close contact in person with the president or senior members of the White House staff since Wednesday and tested negative for 4 days after the last contact, I am disclosing today's positive test out of the abundance of transparency," she said in a statement. "I last saw the president on Tuesday when we sat outside more than 6 feet apart and wore masks." Based on this information, it seems like President Biden is likely not to be in too terribly great of a risk from having contracted it from White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki. It says here Psaki opted not to travel with President Biden and other staff members to Europe on Thursday after a member of her household tested positive for the virus. She last held a press briefing with reporters on Wednesday at the White House. Psaki said that she is vaccinated and has mild symptoms. She plans to return to work after a 10-day quarantine following a negative test. Sounds like she's going to get an early vacation. Next up, lawmakers are very optimistic that we will actually have a bill passed this week.
All I will tell you is we have a very, very strong bill, and it deals with the fact that we are going to start paying attention to the needs of working parents, continue that $300. We're going to build affordable housing. We're going to make sure that elderly people and people with disabilities can stay at home rather than be forced into a nursing home, etc. We're going to demand that the wealthiest people in this country start paying their fair share of taxes. All I can tell you is there is more. It's a very good bill. No, but I am right now, I can tell you, I worked yesterday, we're working today, we're going to work tomorrow to strengthen that bill. It is outrageous that we continue to pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, and that 1 out of 4 Americans cannot afford the prescriptions that their doctors write. That is not acceptable.
Senator Bernie Sanders on Sunday said that he spent the weekend negotiating a deal with Democrats to once again include the lowering of prescription drug prices in a social spending framework, a sign that the party is still working out major provisions days ahead of when Democratic lawmakers hope to try for another vote on the matter. House Democrats are looking at Tuesday as the day to pass a bill on the framework and a bipartisan infrastructure measure. Now, if this call is right, we could possibly see the approval or passing of the $1.75 trillion stimulus package. Sanders, the chair of the Senate Budget Committee, told host Dana Bush on CNN's State of the Union that he and other Democrats are working this weekend to strengthen the social spending package and add provisions that will help lower the cost of prescription drugs after such initiatives were left out of the White House's framework last week due to internal disagreements between moderates and progressives. He said that the goal of adding a prescription drug pricing plan to the bill is not easy stuff. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg told host George Stephanopoulos on ABC's This Week that negotiators are, quote, the closest we've ever been to passing the infrastructure bill and reconciliation package. He said that the administration is very optimistic that pieces of the legislation will have the votes to pass this week, contending that Biden released the framework last week because he believes that it will pass the House and the Senate and get to his desk. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm on Sunday characterized the last-minute trip to Capitol Hill as a win, pointing to progressives' verbal support for the framework. Quote, what happened is that the progressives came out unanimously supporting what was in the framework. They had to look at the language, which was released on Friday, and now he can go to COP and Glasgow and say that he has 100% unanimity in the Democratic caucus and in the House. And this is really bringing the people together over the agenda. Now, of course, we'll just have to see about this. This is yet another promise, more optimism, but yet we still don't have a signed bill just yet. Democrats are scrambling to fill in the details on their social and climate spending plan after President Biden's proposal for a scaled-back bill lit a fire under lawmakers who want to see their personal priorities included. According to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the text is there for you to review, for you to complain about, for you to add to, for you to subtract from, whatever it is. And we'll see what consensus emerges from that. Now, as progress inches along toward passing another stimulus package or spending package, many Americans want to know, where is the fourth stimulus check? President Joe Biden signed the American Rescue Plan into effect in March of this year. And with that, he deposited the third round of stimulus checks worth up to $1,400 into the bank accounts of millions of Americans. In the spring and early summer, many Democrats pushed for the fourth round of stimulus checks on the federal level, which has yet to happen. Progressive lawmakers have written letters to President Biden and the administration requesting automatic stabilizers, also known as stimulus payments that would automatically hit the bank accounts of millions of Americans. The fourth round of stimulus checks and recurring payments would have been issued until the pandemic ends. Struggling Americans have created petitions on change.org calling for recurring stimulus payments as well. Stephanie Bonin, a restaurant owner in Colorado, created a change.org petition asking for $2,000 recurring stimulus checks until the pandemic ends and the economy improves significantly. The petition currently holds over 2.9 million signatures, at least at the time of this video. And this is pushing very close to its goal of 3 million signatures in order to become one of the top petitions on change.org. Now, with that said, the American Rescue Plan does continue to provide some relief. The child tax credit started on July 15th with the first monthly payment. Now, the last 2 monthly payments of either $250 or $300 per month, depending upon eligibility, is set to end in November and December on the 15th of both months. Also, specific states are giving their residents stimulus checks. Now, while there's been stimulus money for both struggling homeowners and struggling renters, select food and grocery industry workers are eligible to receive $600. The Senior Citizens League is also pushing Congress to approve a one-time $1,400 stimulus check to Social Security recipients. Now, as the pandemic continues to run its course, the question is, when exactly will our lawmakers push for the fourth round of stimulus checks? Now, with all the negotiations and budget reductions, I'm still remaining optimistic that the chances of getting that fourth stimulus check are not zero, and that our lawmakers are strategically yet patiently waiting for the most opportune time to add them in at the last minute. Certainly wouldn't have been the first time. So anyway, guys, that is all for today's stimulus check update and stimulus package update. We covered the latest on the fourth stimulus check, the latest updates from White House officials who indicate that the pieces of legislation will actually have the votes needed to be able to pass the stimulus bill this week. We also dropped the latest update that White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki just confirmed that she has contracted the virus as of Sunday this week. And we've also covered the fact that the global supply chain shortage has been affecting medicine as well as critical drugs needed to fight cancer as well as the virus and pandemic. What do you guys think about all that we covered today? I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. If you haven't already, definitely subscribe to the channel and tap that notification bell, that way you're notified as soon as I release new videos and content, and I will see you guys on the next one. Take care.